And I think that's probably what NVDM coaching is born out of too, of like, what were the things that I was missing, when I had a coach, and I make sure that we provide those things for our athletes. At the end of my career, when I had my best years, it took me joining a run club. So I had that community running for those key workouts. The coach was there. It took me going to a master swim group and having that community there. So I was seeking out different groups, but I didn't have it all under one house. And I think that is actually pretty common.
You're listening to From Athletes to Mentors, a Legacy of Coaching, a TrainingPeaks series that takes you behind the scenes of endurance sports. I'm your host, Hannah. In this 6-part series, we sit down with top coaches who use TrainingPeaks to discuss their journeys. We'll trace their path from athlete to mentor, uncover the biggest lessons they've learned, share their best advice for new coaches, and reveal the strategies behind their most enduring successes. I hope you enjoy this episode, and be sure to check out the other coaches' stories in the playlist.
My name is Natasha Van Der Merwe. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. I run NVDM Coaching. We are an endurance sports coaching company. Have 21 coaches now underneath me, and we specialize in athletes who are getting ready, preparing for an Ironman 70.3, but we also do work with marathoners, ultra marathoners, and we just actually added an arm of Hyrox training because the sport has just blown up. Before that, I was a professional triathlete myself for 13 years. And so a lot of what I've put into the business is my experience as an athlete, learning from a lot of incredible coaches, learning myself through the sport, just being a student of the sport, and then just having a lot of experience working with a lot of athletes. Prior to starting my coaching company, I'd been coaching already for a very long time, been on TrainingPeaks for about 10 years now, but coached almost 14 years with all ranges of athletes. Currently work with quite a few professional triathletes, most namely Jackie Herring. She just won Louisville 70.3 and Ironman Cairns. And Alice Alberts won a couple Ironmans, and then a host of other male professionals, female professionals, and some upcoming athletes that are doing really well.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
When you started coaching, did you envision like your own company and having professional athletes that you're working with?
Yeah, no, not at all. I started coaching just because I got very quick success in the sport myself, and I actually came from coaching tennis. And so I think it was just this thing where I could do something, really understand it from that coach's mindset, pick it up quickly. And then whatever I was learning, I really wanted to pass that knowledge on to someone else. And I had friends that saw that and said, help me, I want to do the same thing. Had very quick success with them as well. And it just kind of grew from there. But there was never a point in the first 5-6 years of me doing that where I was like, I want to make something really big out of this. It was really, I think like most triathletes, professional triathletes anyway, you're so focused on your own career that you're kind of, yes, you're passing it on, but it's really just like this way to create revenue for supporting your passion. That was totally me. All eyes was on what I was doing and was learning. But it was coming to the end of my career. I mean, I raced professionally till I was 40. And I knew there was this pull of like, okay, I've learned a lot. I know there's a lot to share. It's now I need to, everything that I'm learning for myself in these final years of my career, I need to have the thought and the mindset of how am I going to pass this on to others? And so that's when that switch started to happen. And then as far as me creating the company, it really came about of I got the opportunity to work with Nick Bear in his Ironman Prep Season 2. He has millions of followers on YouTube and Instagram, and that got put out on all these platforms. And all of a sudden, all these eyes were on me. And people started reaching out. I didn't really have much social following at all. And I figured I better put something in place now to have all these athletes come aboard. And I can't coach them myself. So what does that look like? And I started creating a system that allowed us to scale and bring these coaches on underneath me, training with my same philosophy, being able to essentially give the same quality of coaching that I'm giving. TrainingPeaks, of course, makes it really easy for us to be able to handle a lot of athletes, communicate well, and stay on top of that. So each coach on average is a range from like 20 to 30 athletes. Some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less. So can kind of do the math on that. Some are brand new to us. And so maybe they've only got like 5 athletes starting out. But the goal, and that's my hope, is that each of my coaches this is their full-time career. That's very important to me, is that the athletes don't feel like their second thought because this coach has something else they're doing and I'm kind of just on the side. No, like you wake up and you live, breathe triathlon and you're helping these people. This is what you want to do. You're feeling called to do this. And yeah, and the goal is see if we can continue to grow from there. So we definitely have a team in place. Like I run the business as a business, not just kind of like I think what most coaching companies are. And so I have someone that's handling the day-to-day operations and the billing and the communication. And there are definitely companies out there that do the same. I've got social media managers. I've got the CFO handling all the billing stuff on this side. So I feel pretty comfortable with the direction we're going.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I'd imagine if you were like also doing social media and billing and all of these things, you couldn't coach as many athletes as you want to or give them all your full attention that they need.
Yeah, there was definitely this point where I was doing a lot of things and I realized, no, like I do need to, where am I gifted and where am I going to be best used for the company? And that was coaching athletes or being forward facing in anything we put out to the world as far as social media, etc. And then having these conversations so people know who we are and bringing them into our group. So yeah, like the little billings, I could have handed that off to someone else. And social media, don't even get me started. I don't know how these people are running these social media accounts and putting together these cool clips. It would take me like 5 hours to put together a reel. So I just don't do it.
Yeah, it's hard. And that platform's like always changing. I'm curious about how you came into using TrainingPeaks. Did you use it when you were an athlete as well, or is this new from when you were a coach?
So when I started, it's so funny, it was spreadsheets. I would be sent like a Word document from my coach when I started. And then immediately after that, I was actually, Triathletes reached out to me to be one of their first coaches. And so I was there at the very start of Triathletes. I was a coach for them, but then also an athlete coach on that platform.
Okay.
When I left, that's when I started using TrainingPeaks. And I think I had been exposed to it a little bit before, where I was like, that's where I'm going back to. And yeah, I've just been using it ever since. What I love about it, you should see my libraries, Hannah. Like I have threshold workouts. I have like 100 workouts because they're all little variations and it takes time to build them out, but then you've saved them and you have them. And then what I've done, and that's helpful for the coaches, is that I've created templates of plans. And so baseball race phase, a reverse periodized phase, a phase like, or a training plan specific to a Healy Ironman, Kona, flat Ironman, Florida, etc. Like here are some examples of what this looks like, and it's all there. And I love that I can just kind of bring it in and drag and drop. So it makes my job really easy. I don't think I could coach as effectively and as many athletes as I do without how easy it is to use the platform.
Yeah. And then your other coaches don't have to, and you don't have to like reinvent the wheel every time someone's doing a race that you've already made a plan for.
Totally. Well, yeah. And that's the benefit of my coaches, right? Is they come in and they don't have to build workouts at all. They've got thousands of workouts and honestly over 100 training plans to kind of pull from and get ideas from. And then, okay, now take that. What is the right thing for this athlete and adjust?
And so I read on your website, you have had 100 plus athletes qualify for Ironman World Championships in Kona, and then 200 for 70.3 World Championships. Is that like a lot of your athletes' main goal? Is there like, I want to go to the World Championships?
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, I think I'd be lying if we do have athletes that come in that are brand new to the sport. They love our community. They want to learn from us. Or we have CEOs that they just need someone to manage their schedule and they want to get something in which helps them support them to be better CEOs and parents and stuff. That's not even on their radar. However, I mean, the people that are investing in coaching, they realize they can't do it themselves, right? They need this other eye and these other ideas to come in to help move them forwards and get them to that level. So 100%. We have a lot of young athletes, which is so cool. I remember when I got into the sport, everyone was older, because you have more means, you have more time. But now the sport is definitely attracting a lot of people in their 20s. And so the biggest demographic of our team is 20 to 30-year-old male, probably 90% of them. And they all have these, big dreams, and we get in and we dream with them, and we create the path to whatever goals they set for themselves, or we might see and set for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Are a lot of these, do you have a lot of athletes coming to you that have been competing for a long time or coming from different sports?
A lot of people are drawn to us for the community, to be honest, because we do a lot for our team. In that, I mean, we're based in Austin, and every Wednesday we have a track workout, and you'll have anywhere from like 50 to 60 people show up every Wednesday for that. We have weekly swim workouts, etc. But yeah, a mix. We have people brand new to the sport, especially the younger guys. They're coming in maybe from a different sport, to someone who's a little older and maybe they've been doing this for a while, and some of them have maybe been with a different coaching company, or been doing it by themselves. And again, they're realizing maybe I need just like a different stimulus and different eyes on me, and a different approach to what I'm doing, to kind of renew that excitement for the sport, and see what they can still pull out of themselves like 10 years in.
Yeah. And you mentioned community in person, but you also coach a lot of virtual athletes. Is that correct?
Most of them. Yeah.
Most of them? How do you foster a community virtually? And does that matter to them?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Yeah. So number one, it definitely starts with a lot of communication with them and the coach. And so we like to say that we're like a high touch coaching company, where an athlete does their workout, it goes into TrainingPeaks, they write their comments on how they're feeling. The coach every day is there answering, analyzing, being available to, make sure that there's a back and forth. And so there's that community aspect just with the coach that's really gets things started. Now, as far as the other athletes, we have an app for the team that we use. And so everyone gets on this app, and there are people going back and forth about what goggles are you using, what race are you doing. And then we also make these team races where everyone who's going to Louisville 70.3 that just happened, for example, you can go in and sign up, and then you can see, okay, there's 20 NVDM athletes, and then they're connected through the app leading up to the race. A lot of them might even plan like accommodations together, travel together, and then we connect them through an email at the race of like, okay, here you go, here's everyone that's going. And they will, even if a coach isn't there, someone in that group will say, hey, let's meet up for coffee and a swim. So there's that the app, the connection. We do team races. We picked 6 team races, and then you have the World Championships as well, where, example, Ironman Texas, last year we had 80 athletes. We funneled, everyone wanted to do an Ironman. We're like, let's go do Ironman Texas. And almost all the coaches went, all the athletes went, and we had activities every day leading into the race. And so like Thursday, we met up for a dinner. Friday, there was a swim and a run and coffee. And by the end, everyone knew each other. And what's so cool is, I say, like, once you get to the race, you're not alone. Like, you're seeing 79 of your teammates, and you're high-fiving them, and you're chatting to each other on the course. And they really, from there, these friendships really are born. And I love seeing everyone now hanging out outside of this, or planning races together, even though they don't live together. And then we do a weekly team Zoom call. So every Sunday we get on at 6:00. Everyone jumps on. We usually get a guest Q&A, or we prepare a presentation, and then we encourage questions asked, so they can really get educated kind of through this process, but then see each other as well. And then I go to all the World Championships. I honestly try to go to as many races as possible, where a lot of coaches don't maybe have the time or the means to be able to go, but I feel it's such a big stage and such an important race that one of us needs to be there, where this team feels supported, and we connect everybody. So for Ironman Nice, Ironman World Championships leading up, we've had multiple Zoom calls where everyone is connected. They're talking about their training, their plans. We had people who've done the race the year before come on, share about their experience, getting everyone excited. And then once we're there, every day leading up, we have connection.
It seems like you're really trying to make it feel like a team and have people do it together.
Absolutely. I do think that's a lot of our success, is that community outside of the coaching that we're providing. So, if we want to continue to be successful and continue to grow and support a lot of people and give them that quality service, but then also I want to grow our team as well, then we are constantly looking for ways to kind of level that up.
Yeah. When you were an athlete, was the community part important to you? Did you have access to that?
Oh, yeah, I really wish I did. And I think that's probably what NVDM coaching is born out of too, of like, what were the things that I was missing, when I
Mhm.
had a coach? And I make sure that we provide those things for our athletes. At the end of my career, when I had my best years, it took me joining a run club. So I had that community running for those key
Mhm.
workouts. The coach was there. It took me going to a master swim group and having that community there. So I was seeking out different groups, but I didn't have it all under one house. And I think that is actually pretty common.
Yeah, that's really cool. And what else do you think you learned from being a professional athlete that you brought to coaching, whether it's like things you thought you were missing or missed out on, or things that you really appreciated from having a coach?
Yeah, I think high accountability and communication is key. Like athletes, they really want to know that the coach is as invested in their goal as they are. So and then what does that look like, right?
Mhm.
Number two is like you need the coach to be available. And so I've had great coaches that I could like text right away after workout, so excited. They would be just as excited for me. And it just made it so much more. And it created such buy-in for the workout because not only was I doing it, yes, for myself, but like I wanted to do what the coach had set out, and so that was really important. And then when I didn't have that communication, yeah, you felt that was missing, right? And so what else did I learn as a pro? I mean, I think when I was racing myself, there was part, yes, I was being coached, but there was part experiment of me learning different things. And I think that we are constantly learning as a coaching group about how we can do things better, but also there's so many ways to get fit. And so it's really looking at the individual person and going, yep, that way doesn't work. That way, this is the way
Mhm.
that might be best for this person and this, with whatever the goals are and their, age, etc. And so I feel like we're very well rounded in an understanding of the different ways to prepare for a triathlon and place people in those different buckets. Um, what else? Yeah, no, I think I always, as a professional, when I watch coaches, I learned a lot from coaches and seeing how they communicated to their athletes and how they said things. And I constantly, like, I'll be on deck coaching swim, and you go down the 5 lanes, right? And you will teach this lane what you're going to have them do in the next set and maybe explain the part of form that they need to follow. And after that, I will assess myself. Go, oh,
Mhm.
I wish I said that better. A little more clarity, not so many words. And then I practice and I do it better. And I feel like I take that same mindset into everything I do, like constantly checking myself to essentially be more clear in the message to these athletes so that they get it and they're then excited to work out.
Yeah, yeah, that excitement is it's really important to keep them like coming back, of course. How do you help them, set their goals and also balance their outside activities? I saw that, you coach so many athletes, but it's all individual, like they all have their own plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you help them like balance all of if they're
Yeah.
not like if triathlon isn't their only thing, how do you help them balance everything else?
Yeah, and that's how I really need to get to know the athlete and what their life looks like. And then they have to be very clear in what their week ahead looks like. And so, yes, when I have an athlete and just say they have a key race 12 weeks out, I'll have an idea of like, okay, this is what the build needs to look like. But on Training Peaks, I only put 1 week at a time. And that
Mhm.
1 week is clearly given to me by the athlete where they're like, okay, I've got this going on this day. I can't do this on this day. And so it's unique for that week and what I know that they can do. And then based on how that week goes, we then assess what went well, didn't go well, what needs to be moved around. And then, yes, we have kind of the plans and progression of the workouts we want to do to get to that ultimate goal of them being prepared. But things might change around. And so it requires very clear communication and then me really paying attention to you can't really coach an athlete if you're not going into their data on Training Peaks every single day and looking at their data points because then they might as well just get a plan. I have an athlete that will do a workout and we'll go in and I know what their threshold power is and their heart rate and their effort. We know what it should feel like. And we go in and we're like, wow, that doesn't match at all. Like what what happened? And so we talk about it, and we want to get to a point where we empower them to go, okay, if you're supposed to be running 6-minute miles, we know your threshold heart rate is 160 heart rate, but it's crazy hot and humid outside, and you're struggling to hit that pace, and your heart rate's now 165. Like, you got to back off the pace, or you might need to just increase the rest. And so we try to like work through that, empower them in that. But then, yes, you can be bet that the next week we might change things up, for them. And so in that, I feel like the athletes and their needs are taken into account. Things are adjusted for them to essentially be as consistent as possible and happy as possible while still juggling everything out. And we've been very successful with athletes that travel a ton, only have 10, 12 hours a week to train. They're still qualifying for Kona and winning their age group in an Ironman, but it requires that level of communication.
On that topic of TrainingPeaks and the data, what data points are you looking at that you find very helpful? And does that change based on the athlete?
So we're looking at, is there any decoupling that is happening between pace and heart rate and power and heart rate? We're looking at prior workouts similar to it. Do you have an efficiency factor? Are these athletes more efficient at a very similar workout? And so that's great about TrainingPeaks is you pretty much spell it out to me. I just have to look for the data, and then I translate it to, because the athletes don't want to look for the data. Some do, but some don't. So they think I'm all smart when I'm not. I'm like, no, they actually have the algorithm in place to like pull the data for me. And then I just say, oh, your efficiency factor was 1.0 today, and last week it was 5.0. So that shows that we're, becoming more efficient at the workout. Yeah, some of our coaches do plan a lot through TSS. And so we're looking at those scores as well. Those numbers, of course, you need to be super dialed in with making sure everyone's pace is in power. And so sometimes, depending on the level of communication from the athlete or back and forth, those numbers go off. And so we don't live or die by them. But there's definitely a helpful tool to like keep track of trends of preparation, of that stress. You can look at the calendar as well. I love looking at the PMC chart. That's always kind of helpful. And then what's cool about that is like, it's feedback for the athletes to go like, okay, look, you are improving, and you can see like the different ranges and why they're there, and you can, and why we're handling this load, and things are moving the direction we want to go. So
yeah. Do the athletes like looking at the data? Are they like interested in what the numbers are showing?
Some, yes. I'd say like the better athletes that have big goals, they love to see that. And then those that are just too busy, like, no, they just tell me if I'm improving.
Yeah.
And then I read the data for them, and then they're happy.
Yeah. They're like, you make the plan. I'm just going off of what you tell me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you've been coaching for 15 years?
Yeah.
How have you seen the coaching industry change over time?
It's funny because I feel like social media, it might not have changed, but social media tells me it's changed. So there's a lot more coaches. That's for one thing, and you can see it now because everyone's posting on social media about that. Obviously, there is now AI, that's how things have changed. You're seeing a lot more programs with that.
Are you using any AI in your coaching?
No. I mean, if any of us pull on AI, it might be to create some helpful spreadsheets for athletes when they ask a question and they want to see it, and we pull some. Basically what it's doing is it's going to the website, pulling all the data for us, and then we provide it and then present it. But no AI in the forms of actually like creating any programming or coaching at all. Yeah. So most athletes that I've spoken to, granted, these are all athletes that use coaching, right? But they're not by any means drawn to it. Like they want a person, on the other side. I mean, I think that's the success of coaching is you have a resource of information that you can, yes, of course, AI is also a resource of information, but it's one you can have a conversation with and then be accountable to. I mean, I think that's a big reason a lot of people have coaches is to be accountable to someone and then kind of weed through. There's so many ways to get fit. There's so many, as we talked about, and it's like, okay, but what about me?
Right.
I just think that's more helpful.
Yeah, and AI isn't necessarily looking at the outside factors, like whether it's really humid out or like did you have a stressful week and like maybe not slept as well as you
Yeah.
normally do or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think like a lot of people, and we talk to our coaches about this, it's about the relationship. A lot of our athletes, they come in for the coaching, they stay because of the relationship. It's someone
Mhm.
that they're talking to every single day, someone that gets them excited about training, motivates them, is on their team. And
Mhm.
so you can't get that through AI.
No, no, you can't.
Yeah.
I read that you reverse periodize with your training plans or
Some.
yeah, some.
Yeah.
Could you talk about like what that means? What results have you seen?
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we don't do that all the time.
Okay.
So with some athletes, regular periodization is essentially building a big, strong foundation through a lot of base training, so a lot of aerobic training.
Mhm.
And then from there, building is the next phase. And so the build phase is very much dependent on the athlete and their specific needs. And then the final phase is a race specific phase, right? And then you get ready for your race.
Mhm.
What we did and we found with reverse periodization is we would we build a little bit of base so they could handle what we're going to throw at them next. And that was, we worked backwards. And so while the volume wasn't necessarily high, we could increase the stress with high intensity work. And so they started off with what we called neuromuscular power intervals, which was short sprints.
Mhm.
We focused 10 seconds, 30 seconds, like raising the ceiling of their power. And they could get in and out for an hour. It kept them motivated, especially when they're so far out from a race. But we
Mhm.
focused on that top end because what happens as you get closer to the race, now you drop down in zones to where maybe for an Ironman, you're racing at zone 2. And so you are getting now all that kind of base training, just preparing for an Ironman and the distance that you have to prepare. So we started zone 5, and then our next phase would kind of work down, and you could say, okay, now we're going to do maybe still zone 5, zone 4. So we went into VO2 max training, and then we dropped down into threshold training. And so as we dropped the intensity down, we worked on extending. And we found that raising of the ceiling first, it was easier for everything else to raise below it,
Mhm.
versus the opposite. However, we get a lot of success the opposite way as well. So, but it's when starting out, I think it came back to, you give someone who's new 8 hours, and let's make those 8 hours count.
Mhm.
And it did give us a lot of quick results, and so it got people hooked into the training really quickly, because it's not super sexy to get someone into training and now they're just doing zone 2, like easy
Right.
workouts. But you come in and you're like, I've got 10-second sprints and 30-second like power intervals, and all of a sudden they're pushing all this power. And sure enough, we do like a ramp, we'll do like different FTP tests, for example, on the bike. But yeah, I mean, 4 to 8 weeks later, their ramp test, I mean, they can push crazy more power than they did before, because they would always be capped out on those harder intervals on that ramp
Mhm.
test. Whereas now we're pushing out power way beyond that they were able to now handle those power jumps. And so within those results, it really worked for these athletes. And so we use it depending on who comes in and what their ability to tolerate is and what their goals are, short term and long term.
Yeah. How do you decide I guess, what kind of athlete would this work for best? Is there like a profile of an athlete that you would pick
Yeah,
this for?
yeah. So I will be frank. And so we've been in business for 5 years. I would say for the first 3 years, it's all we used. And
Okay.
so, I mean, we had Alice Alberts win multiple Ironmans on that, go from zero triathlete to win her first Ironman, right?
Mhm.
And then we even used it, yeah, for the newer athlete as well. Now, I talk about the bike. You hear I don't talk about the run, because you add in this fast running right away, and they're not ready for it, they're going to get injured. So we're
Mhm.
definitely more patient. It is more of like a base build race phase for the running. But where you start on the run in introducing speed is you'll go from aerobic runs to, hey, let's incorporate some strides. Let's incorporate some hill sprints to prepare the body for the load of like the track workouts, etc. And then, yes, in that, we'll start with 200s, 400s, 600s, and then start to extend to more threshold work, tempo work as we get closer to the race. So I'd say, honestly, everybody. And then we're finding now with my top athletes, when they are just training a lot and we're really far out from a race, we basically, Alice and Jackie and a couple of my other guys that have been winning races, we put them into a big base phase early on in the season, that normally we would have already started doing like peak power phase, and then we shifted into honestly what I would call some reverse periodization from there.
Did you do that as an athlete or no?
Yes, I'm trying to think my memory because it's like 5 years since I raced. Yes, I'm trying to think which races specifically I did it, but there were races, and I found that if I didn't continue to keep my eye on that top end, then all of a sudden Ironman is hard. But
Okay.
if I incorporated very, very hard intervals in my training, it kept Ironman effort on feeling like Ironman effort. And that was always a big weakness of mine. A lot of endurance athletes, they can kind of go all day, but where they are kept is that top end power.
Yeah.
And so if we can continue to like stay on top of it, because you can kind of lose it really quickly as well. And I really love that work, and I incorporate a lot with my athletes, like periodically, just for the muscle recruitment, benefits, and we incorporate a lot of strength intervals as well for the same reason, and we get a lot of success from that.
Yeah. Are you using TrainingPeaks strength builder when you're doing strength with them?
Yes, so I am currently using it myself as I'm training for Hyrox, and our strength coach is using it on me. We're just getting into it now. We actually have been using Train Heroic, which is also you guys, this whole time. And we understood that strength was a very important part of programming. I felt that was huge in my career, especially for fatigue resistance, coming late at the end of the bike, late at the end of the run. Like if I was lifting in the gym, like I could hold my form, my strength together a lot longer than if I wasn't. And so what I did is I don't have expertise in the strength field. I hired a strength coach who then came in and used Train Heroic, and he put together the strength programming, and we have multiple programs for athletes to choose from. And so the endurance plan is like on Monday, there's like a mobility day, core day, really well thought out. It's progressive in blocks. And then there's a heavier lifting day. And then there's a plyometric day, core day as well. And we just say, like, if you're going into the gym, we want that to translate to you as a triathlete versus it just be totally random lifting. However, we also coach like a lot of the hybrid type athletes who want like the upper body day and stuff like that. And we're like, we can give that to you. This is a different program that we offer, but then here are the key things that are going to translate to you becoming a better runner, swimmer, and biker as well.
So you're training for Hyrox right now?
Yeah.
That's exciting. Is that new? When did you get into that?
It is just recently.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it was when I stopped triathlon. I was training 20 to 25 hours a week for over a decade. I never thought I would stop training, but honestly, when I started the business, everything I thought about every waking hour was, what can I do to build this business? And how can I take care of these athletes, that I stopped training altogether? And you go down this road and then your health deteriorates because all of a sudden you're pouring out of an empty cup that's just like not taking care of themselves, which was me. And I needed a goal. Like, I don't do well just to exercise. Like I need something. And I was past my triathlon because for me, having the success I had, like I'm not going to do a triathlon just to do a triathlon. Like I know what it takes to compete, right?
Yeah.
I was like, well, this sounds fun. Like I feel like I've never lifted weights to this degree. It's running. I can do it anywhere. And it's a new challenge. And I need something to train for. And I need a coach too, because even myself, like I need that level of accountability. I need someone, even if I could program myself, but I need someone else to program for me. And I feel such a level of accomplishment when I go in and I check off the box and I report back to that coach. So yeah, it's fun. I'm excited to see what I can do with it. I do have a lot of strength, but I've never channeled it in this direction. And I want to see kind of where we can go.
When's the race?
End of November, I signed up for the Hyrox Dallas race. Yeah, and I'll be doing the Women's Open. I'm just starting with the lighter weight, and then we'll go to heavier weight next year, which is the Women's Pro. And then the coach I'm working with, he's been doing Hyrox for like 4 years before anyone knew about Hyrox. We're also going to do mixed doubles.
Cool. Without giving away like industry secrets, what's like the biggest piece of advice you'd give to a new coach just starting out?
Communication, quick communication. I mean, I think that's really it. When we started our business, it was interesting. Athletes would reach out and they would tell me that, hey, I emailed you and I emailed like 3 other coaches that I was interested in working with. You responded within like 5 minutes and you got me on a call that same day. and we chatted. And so that is very helpful. The coach, how you show up matters. Like you're not showing up when you're showing up to work with an athlete, you're showing up on a call. You have to be so fully there to hear and respond at the right time, or maybe it's just a chance for you to listen to the athlete. And I don't feel that's an area at all times that maybe people don't think about. Like it's so important how you show up at all times in support of your athletes. So it's more coaching is a lot about that trust, communication, that friendship, that ability for the athlete to be heard. And then yes, as far as coaching is concerned, there's so much information out there. Never stop learning. Continuously look for some great ideas. Try it on yourself, maybe implement it on a few athletes you feel like can do that. Like what's great is I have one of my coaches who's a top athlete, and we experiment on things all the time, and he lets me, and so we try workouts, we see how that fits, and then we'll use it on other athletes and see kind of what response we get and how they respond to it, and it's fantastic. So yeah, don't be stuck in like your ways of coaching. And a lot of the times it's okay. Like I think what stopped me from making the business for such a long time is I felt a bit like I didn't know everything. Maybe I had this imposter syndrome going on. So I didn't want to put myself out there, to be honest, because I was out of fear of judgment. And we're all just trying our best here. And with the goal of like the athlete comes first, how can we support the athlete? Because at the end of the day, it's not you. And so you're not putting yourself out there is you're not allowing yourself to then be of service to others.
And it sounds like you have a lot of knowledge and expertise to share, which I'm sure all of the athletes appreciate.
It's so funny. I talk about it all the time to where I feel you hear yourself all the time. I'm like, no one wants to hear this, but I'm now realizing that some people are hearing it for the very first time, and this is actually valuable information. So I even get caught myself of like, no one needs to hear this information, but yeah. And I don't know everything either. I can very much admit to that. I think that's a key to a new coach as well, is if you don't have the answer, tell your athlete, I don't know, but I'm going to get back to you. And there's a ton of resources and we're going to figure it out. And then at the end of the day, like it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be a program that gets the athlete excited to do the workout, and they feel accountable to you, and they're able to show up consistent day in, day out. That's going to beat any perfect plan. It's just that consistency and excitement over time.
Yeah. And like you said, there's so many ways to get fit. So finding the one that works for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have Ironman Nice coming up that you're going to, and you have your Hyrox race coming up. Are there any other big races that you're going to or participating in coming up?
A lot, yeah. So I'm going to Ironman Nice, which we have 9 athletes that we're supporting there.
Wow.
And then from there, I'm going to come home. I'm going to go to Ironman Chattanooga. And I have a lot of athletes I'm coaching and some coaches racing that as well. I'm going to go support. And that will just be a quick weekend trip. Then we have Waco 70.3. And right now we have over 40 athletes doing that. A bunch of coaches will do a team dinner. That's another thing we do at these races. We do these team dinners. And so that's a big deal for us at Waco. The day after Waco, I leave for Kona. And Alice and Jackie are racing that, but I also have a number of age group females that I coach that are racing. So that will be a big one. And then I come back and then I go to Marbella. And then I come back and then I go to Arizona, Ironman Arizona. We have about 30 athletes racing there. And then that next weekend is Hyrox. So I am going to have to be so disciplined on my training and my nutrition through all of this if I want to show up at my race personally and do well, because that's a lot of travel.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. I'm glad I caught you before all of this travel.
Totally. Me too.
How are you going to make sure like you get your own training in while you're traveling?
Yeah. I mean, I just have to be super disciplined with my time. And so it's a mapping out of, okay, when am I meeting athletes, supporting them, having other meetings with coaches, et cetera there. Cause I work for Raw Nutrition as well. And so I'm going to be setting up stuff there with our athletes sponsored and the coaches. And so just go, okay, I got a pocket of time right there, 4 to 6, got to go work out. But for me, honestly, and I think probably most of the same is like first thing in the morning, if I can. So if I'm meeting them at 7, I'm going to get up at 5 and I'm going to use 5 to 6:30 and that's going to be my time. It's done. And if I get any time in later the day, it's just bonus. But yeah, just going to
Yeah,
have to protect it.
definitely. Well, good luck to you and your athletes at all of
Thank
these
you.
races.